Feeling very patriotic in this shirt, man. And I think that kind of ties in to the Philadelphia Eagles, man. They got the Liberty Bell. They got the Liberty Bell in Philadelphia, man. Look at y'all. What's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo. Just in case you did not know, so what a segue, I know. But today we're going to be taking a look at the Philadelphia Eagles. We're going to break down the roster, what to expect, give you my projected starters, and then a prediction. So go ahead, like the video, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I know you will. Regardless, Eagle fans, y'all are passionate. Let's go ahead, let's get into the nitty gritty. Let's take a gander at the roster. I want to start actually with the defense, if I can, because I think this is the unit we have the most questions about in terms of how will it look? Because Jonathan Gannon, we don't know much about him outside, of course. Oh, Mike Zimmer. I mean, he worked under a bevy of coaches. I bring up Mike Zimmer because I think that's likely what this defense is going to look like. I think we're going to see a lot of cover one looks, more so to disguise their cover two, their quarters coverage. I think that they're going to go this route because of simply, well, their strength on the roster being their defensive line, how they drafted, and a couple of the guys they brought in. It just matches with Mike Zimmer's pound the A-gap philosophy. Let's just go to the offensive line, right? So he's a big fan of just bringing pressure on the A-gap, having penetrators, having bringing pressure with whether it's stunts or blitzes, in the middle of, well, the offensive line. And how he drafted Milton Williams, because you want, like, going into the draft, you wouldn't have said the defensive line was a weakness of the Philadelphia Eagles. But still, he went out, got Milton Williams. I love Milton Williams. Great. I think he's an ideal gap penetrator, especially at his size, 280, and the athleticism that he brings, the explosiveness. They also decided to double dip there with Marlon Tuipulotu, who very stout run defender, man. But they also have, you got Fletcher Cox. He's a banger. You got Javon Hargrave. They addressed already a pretty good strength there. They brought in guys that when blitzing could get pressure there with like Jacoby Stevens, Patrick Johnson listed at linebacker on the Eagles website, mind you, maybe an Anthony Barr-esque conversion potentially, but this is why I'm thinking that way. They bring in Anthony Harris, who was familiar with Zimmer's scheme, Eric Wilson, familiar with Zimmer's scheme. This all just leads me to believe that it's going to look very Zimmer-like. So let's talk about the strength of the defensive line, because it doesn't stop just from the interior. Like, Brandon Graham is one of the most underrated pass rushers in the league, constantly just disrupting the quarterback, man. He's constantly that disruptor. They also have Derek Barnett, who since his rookie season's kind of been, he's been all right. They bring in Ryan Kerrigan. Josh Sweat is a solid rotation player in that. They also brought in Taron Jackson, I think, as an undrafted free agent. So still, it's going to be the strength of this line. So then what about the secondary? I think that's the next biggest part to kind of evaluate here, because you're only as strong as your weakest link on the secondary. That's easily going to be the quarterback, the second cornerback spot. Who's going to start across from Darius Slay? Because Avonte Maddox probably an easy candidate for that. They did draft Zach McPherson in the 4th round. I don't know. For me, he was kind of a slot guy coming into this draft, but they could start him on the outside. I mean, regardless, I'm a bit queasy about him starting on the outside, but I'm not against it. Let's give it a whirl, man. It doesn't work for everybody, but it works sometimes. I'm just glad they brought competition to that spot. that's really going to be the focal point of how will this defense do is that second cornerback spot. Even whether it's whoever's manning up in the slot, I'm kind of cool with, whether it's McPherson, who I thought was going to be a very good slot corner in the draft. Kavon Wallace, who I was very high on when he came out, and he showed out a little bit. Obviously, one of the strengths in the secondary is the safety position. Bringing in Anthony Harris, who's very familiar with the Zimmer scheme. Rodney McLeod, who is just another underappreciated player at the safety position. Doesn't get enough recognition I think he kind of deserves. A guy that could come downhill with a real head of steam, which is very important, especially because I think they are going to play a bit of cover one in here. Marcus Epps, he's been actually pretty solid, having him in the mix there. Again, it just all comes down to that cornerback 2 spot. In terms of the linebackers, I think TJ Edwards, as long as he stays healthy, he's fine. He's never been I don't think he's ever going to be a big difference maker, but he'll never be a liability. He's a solid run defender, but in coverage, he's not flashy. He's not going to be a playmaker in coverage, but I don't think he'll be a liability. They also have Alex Singleton, who started, or actually had the most snaps at linebacker, I think, last year. More of a run defender. They bring in Eric Wilson, who I think will see more time. Jannard Avery, I think mainly they're probably going to use as a blitzer there. Keep in mind, this guy in his rookie season had 5 sacks for Cleveland. And that was just 3 seasons ago. So they have other coverage guys. Davion Taylor, that could be interesting, coming in and being kind of a dime backer. I think it'd be a really good role for him. So this defense, obviously not a weakness, but I think it's very interesting because we don't entirely know exactly what this defense will look like. You might know more about it than I do in the comment section below. Let me know. Go ahead, let me know. But I think it's a good guess of what they're going to do. I think the whole philosophy behind the squad, especially after how they drafted, is going to be gap pressure. But let's be honest, make or break, man, it's all going to be on the offense this season. That's going to be, it's make or break for Jalen Hurts. So how will this offense look with Nick Sirianni, who wasn't really the play caller there? Well, wasn't at all the play caller there at Indianapolis under Frank Reich. You can make some assumptions because of who he's worked under, guys like Todd Haley, Anthony Lynn, Mike McCoy, was it Ken Wisenhunt? So you can make assumptions. What I think, obviously, I think this is going to be a very run-focused team, especially with Jalen Hurts, with his ability athletically. You want to utilize that to your strengths. I think we're going to see a lot of inside zone heavy blocking scheme, which I think actually works very good for Miles Sanders, who ran a lot of that at Penn State. I love Kenneth Gainwell. That was a great addition to the 5th round. Kind of the Nyheim Hines, so to speak, where they could have him coming out of the backfield on a pass play. You could line him up in the slot, really. You could do a lot of different things with him. Boston Scott's probably the other guy that makes a roster here. They probably keep a 4th running back, maybe carry on, maybe Jordan Howard. I think the other guys are probably long shots. But I really think it's going to be kind of run focused, just because the strength of this offense is the offensive line if it could stay healthy. Lane Johnson, phenomenal. Brandon Brooks, phenomenal. Just need those guys to stay healthy. Jason Kelsey's solid in his own right. Landon Dickerson, I don't think we see him play much at all this year. I think more so he is like the heir apparent for maybe Kelsey or Brooks. Jack Driscoll, another guy I really like, a guy that can man up, right tackle or right guard. But the real focal point is going to be the left side of that offensive line. You have Isaac Simalu, who for the longest time was probably the worst part of the Eagles' offensive line, but it should say more about the offensive line. Like, they were that good. Like, Isaac here, he's actually been very solid. So I'm not going to take anything away from him by saying that. Like saying, oh, he's the worst part of the line. That it's kind of a good thing, you know. If your weakest part is still in need of strength, then you're strong. However, the weakest part is probably the left tackle position. There's some questions there of who they may go. Will they go with Andre Dillard, who currently listed on our lads as the starter there? Former first-round pick, got to start early his rookie season. Didn't look great. Injuries have kind of been an issue. You don't really know what you have in him yet. But then you also have Jordan Mailata, who, 7th-round pick, but came out and was pretty solid last season. So who will they go with there? That'll be interesting. I think that's probably the most interesting camp battle going into this offseason. So they're going to be run heavy. So, and they should be. Utilize Jalen Hurts. That's a strength you have there in terms of what he can do with his legs. Man, Miles Sanders ain't half bad. Just saying. So then what about passing? How will this passing offense look? And I'm just going to assume, because I think if you're really giving Jalen Hurts this shot, play to his strengths, and I think they're going to pull a bit from Lincoln Riley, and they're going to run a lot of concepts similar to Lincoln Riley, like smash, mesh, you're going to see a lot of posts. They're going to attack the seams. You're going to see a lot of intermediate to deep throws because, well, at least that's in terms of where they're going to attack, because that's where he was the most accurate. Jalen Hurts, not very accurate underneath. So I think we're going to see that, and they got the right guys for the job there. And guys like Devontae Smith, just drafted this year. Jalen Reagor, even Travis Fulgham. He was very good last year attacking the intermediate. He's a really good chain mover there. John Hightower, who they drafted same year as Jalen Reagor out of Boise State. He's a good deep threat. I can't really say much about the rest of the guys. Like Greg Ward's more of an underneath guy. I think the less we say about J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, the best. But Asbon, I don't know if he makes the roster. I'm going to be honest. I know some people probably want me to talk about him. He's more of a jump ball guy. I don't know if he makes the roster. I definitely see Fulgham, Reagor, Smith, Ward, Hightower, and then maybe Arcega-Whiteside, or maybe even Watkins, who's more of a special teamer. But also, you have Dallas Goedert, who's a solid tight end. I don't think we're going to see necessarily much like with the Colts, a lot of 2 tight end sets, though. I think we'll see some. I don't think we'll see a lot, because I don't think Zach Ertz is on the roster after this season. I don't think he's on the roster to begin the season. This is just, again, a prediction. I just don't feel like he will be. But they do have very competent receiving options in Jason Crome and Caleb Wilson. Jack Stoll is a good blocking tight end, kind of H-back, a little bit hybrid. But I think we will see more 3 wide receiver sets than anything else. So then at the end of the day, I think how the Eagles do, obviously relies on Jalen Hurts, which means how I think they'll do depends on how I feel about Jalen Hurts. I guess we could get to that when we get to the predictions. Let's go ahead. Let's talk about my projected starters. And again, with projected starters, I'm just going with not necessarily like their base formations or stuff like that. I go with who I think is going to get the most snaps. So the guys that are going to be on the field the most. So let's start this party out with Jalen Hurts, Miles Sanders. I got Devontae Smith, Travis Fulgham, and Jalen Reagor. I think Smith and Reagor can kind of like rotate between the slot. I heard that they're going to use Reagor more in the slot, but I just went ahead and just put him there. Dallas Goedert at tight end. I got Mailata started. I liked the bits I saw last season, and I'm willing to see more, but hey, let this go into training camp. but I'm gonna project that he gets at least gets the shot early on. Isaac Simalu, got Jason Kelsey, Brandon Brooks, and Lane Johnson. In terms of the defense, Brandon Graham, Derek Barnett, Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave will be the front of that defense, but expect a lot of rotation, similar to what Jim Schwartz would do. I mean, you got the depth, then do it. TJ Edwards, I got Eric Wilson being the star here over Alex Singleton, just because his ability in coverage and how familiar he is with I say Mike Zimmer's scheme again. That's another projection on my part. Darius Slay, Vontae Maddox. I got Zach McPherson manning the slot, and then McLeod and Harris there at safety. So here it is, the predictions, the part everyone wanted to be here for. So I'm gonna take a sip real quick. I suggest you go make a stiff drink yourself. So this, I think it's entirely relies on how I feel about Jalen Hurts. And you can date me on this. You could go back to how I felt about him in the draft. I'm not a big fan of Jalen Hurts. A lot of people, they were encouraged with what they saw last year. I didn't think I saw much. In the 5 games he played, 6 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. He had like 9 turnover-worthy plays. I don't think he necessarily has a body that can hold up in the running game. I mean, he obviously, if you're smart about it, I mean, look at Russell Wilson. So, that I feel like maybe that was more of a dig on my part, but it was very simple what they did for him under Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma. It was basically like a 2-read run offense. Like, hey, if your two reads, they're not open, pick up yards with your feet. A lot of people love to point out that how accurate he was downfield. But keep in mind how many yards of separation his receivers were getting. CeeDee Lamb, mind you. He was getting a lot of separation. These balls, they hanged in the air. They were hanging. I mean, his receiver was basically just making bucket catches. Things, they're a little tighter in coverage in the NFL. You can't hang those balls downfield because then they become contested. They become turnovers. I'm not very encouraged with having Jalen Hurts as a starter because I didn't have a very high evaluation of him coming out. So you understand the place I'm coming from. If you're high on Jalen Hurts, that's great. Be optimistic. I could totally be wrong on this. It's not like every evaluation anybody's ever had is right all the time. I just don't think so. I really believe that the Eagles will probably be drafting quarterback next year. Let's get to the predictions. I got them going a nice healthy 4-3, I believe. 4-3. And I know this probably makes people sick. They can't believe their eyes. I think very easily, yes, this team, they could probably win maybe 7 or 8 games, maybe 9 games, but still that makes them like still like an 8 to 9 loss squad. Doesn't make them that much better. I don't think Jalen Hurts is the option. And I mean, when going in, keep in mind, I'm making these predictions for all the teams. So there's going to be teams that I like going into next year, and then teams that I don't. The Eagles happen to be a team that I don't because I feel like, yes, they're very much in fluctuation when it comes to after this season, they're probably going to have to shed some contracts. They're going to try to probably become a younger team, especially on the offensive line and on the defensive line, which are probably their biggest strengths. But let's go ahead. I mean, they got 3. They're going to have 3 first-round picks to do it too. So, and that's why I'm so optimistic because I think they could do a lot just with the next year's draft. So let's go into kind of bits and pieces of the schedule, because you'll be looking at some losses like, are you serious? Like, give or take, you could maybe make a case for them winning against the Falcons. I don't think so. I don't have them getting their first win until week 8 versus Detroit, but they could easily beat the Raiders. They could beat the Panthers. I think those are winnable games. I got them going 3-3 in their division. They could beat the Broncos. I mean, this stretch right here, honestly, from like week 7 to like week till their bye, I think those are all very winnable games. But I don't believe in Jalen Hurts. So you can call me a hater. I'm not a hater. I'm just following my evaluation. If he works out, that's great, man. I'm happy for him. And now you got 3 first-round picks, and you don't have to address the franchise quarterback. I'm just one of those, I'll believe it when I see it, type guys when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles. But I'm sure you'll let me know in the comment section below what you think, where I'm wrong, stuff like that. Shoot, man, especially when it comes to what they'll do defensively, I'm very intrigued. So if you know maybe a bit more than I do, because those fans, they keep their ear a little more in tune to what's going on in camp than me per se. So let me know in the comment section below. But that's it for the video. Go ahead, do that YouTube thing, and as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.